How many times I've gone to a conference, I want to see that guy, and you don't see him, till it's time to go home, maybe miss him. First one is, Bob Brandon from Berthold, North Dakota. Hey, stand up.
All right.
Okay. Alex Borsch, Eli, Manitoba. His dad Andreas Borsch, Eli. Lynn Bracken from Fargo, North Dakota. Martin D. Winter from Saskatchewan. Peter Eggers from Alberta. Peter's a very passionate man about soils. So if you get an opportunity, he's very, very passionate. And he brought along his bodyguard, Mike Dix from Alberta. Then we have Andrew Fabian from downtown Tilly, Alberta. And his dad, Patrick Fabian. Terry Funk from Thief River Falls. Nathan Grove. Can you come in yet? Oh. George Hahn from California. He brought us the warm weather. Where's George? Maybe we told him he had to pay. Maybe we get his checkbook.
Different time.
He's here, he was up having breakfast.
I know. Chris Hawkins from Stubbs Moose Jaw. Chris Holden from Lloydminster. Derek Howell, South of Moose Jaw. Cheryl Manners from Lloydminster. Scott Manners from Lloydminster. Jackie Martin from Hepburn, Saskatchewan. And her husband Shane Martin from Hepburn. Cody Mitchell from South of Moose Jaw. Ron Navoy, Navacha from Grand Forks. And his son, I didn't get the son.
Kyle.
There's a son there, and Chris Wood. So they're all part of the same organization. Chad Nicolation from Yorkton. Chris Nicolation from Swan River. Warren Pittman. Chris Seymour. Mort Plaston from New Russell. George Sanders. Where are you, George? He's a no name, we forgot his name tag.
Oh, I got it now.
Oh, we got it fixed. From downtown Altamont. His son, Mark Sanders. And his grandsons, Aaron Sanders. And Greg Sanders. Marlo Stromberg from Minot, North Dakota. Andres Vandermeulen from Weyburn, Saskatchewan. Todd Van Stone from Miami, Manitoba. There's a group that you'll be spending the next 2 days with. Now we have the speakers. Our first speaker this morning, Dr. Tom Dykstra, Gainsville, Florida. Where are you, Tom?
Right here.
Oh, okay. And Dr. Don Huber from Boise, Idaho. Dr. Michael McNeil from Algoma, Iowa. Dr. Adele Aldrami from Winnipeg. Connor English from Rivers, Manitoba. Cindy Moline, back to your roots. Chris Roper from Cardale. And another fellow that he missed some of his plane problems is Travis Potter. He's coming in, he's with Green Lightning, he's coming in. That is your speakers for the next 2 days. We have 3 virtual Everybody else is in person. Dave Nelson, he's virtually from Campbell, Minnesota. He had a heart attack just the week before Christmas. And his doctor didn't want him to travel, I didn't want him to travel, so he's going to do his first virtual presentation. So with that, Tom, we'll start on your presentation.
3 minutes early? You sure you want to do this?
I mean,
Put
it this way.
there's something else you can say in 3 minutes. And
Well,
I'll
the checks in the
ready to
mail.
go until 8:15.
You must work for the government. So
Are we,
all the bios, the people who sent them are in the
yeah,
your folder there.
I'm good.
Connor,
You just need a little.
you missed the folder, the project was already done, so you're no name. These are cover crops.
Harvey, you missed Middle East.
Who?
Middle Eastern.
Oh, forgotten beer. He was a surprise, remember? Here's it. Mir, when you say something, he's from Boise, Idaho,
All right.
and he's our humic acid specialist. So you hear more about that. Sorry about that, Mir, I got
That's
you right here, but I missed
I
it.
thought- So you had 3 minutes, I thought maybe we'll.
Taking your
So,
time.
go ahead, then Tom,
Yes,
Yes.
okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Another minute. You tell me, you need another minute or no?
No, go ahead.
All right, all right.
Awesome, all set and ready to go. It was about 12 years ago that I first started speaking about Brix. This is not my show. It has never been my show. For those of you who are aware, Brix has been around for over 50 years. I just happened to come in late. I've even told the story one time because I was at a conference, and it was just after I got the PhD when someone approached me and started asking me questions about Brix. And I was barely familiar with it and was unable to answer any of the questions. Fast forward 10 years, I started collecting information. I finally got a chance to present my first Brix presentation, and boy, was I excited, way too excited. 2.5-hour presentation. You can imagine this was not so well received. It was well received for the first hour. It was not so well received on the second hour. And so over time, I've had a chance in order to modify it, and I have added my own little small contribution to the Brix issue. And now, for matters that are unclear to me, I'm pretty much the only one who is talking about it now. So I do, of course, stand on the shoulders of pioneers, but right now my reputation as a Brix man does precede me. I've been called many derogatory comments, including sugar daddy, and so now I'm here, the sugar daddy himself, in order to present to you. Now, this presentation is not the Brix presentation. I think I might have given it last year, I really don't know, but since that presentation came out, I have been assailed, as you might imagine. Some people asking questions, love to answer them. Other people looking to attack. And so because of this, when you get attacked and you have a lot of questions, well, they want to be able to fill in a lot of the gaps that are found, I have found myself developing a second presentation, and then a third presentation, and then a fourth presentation. And my fifth presentation will be given in just a few days, just on this issue. The reason why these additional 4 presentations came about is in order to start filling in some gaps, because when you introduce a subject that many people are not familiar with, it is difficult to do a good job in 1 hour. And that's what all the presentations are basically at right now, is about 1 hour. This one is also the same. This presentation right here is presentation number 3 on this whole insect Brix sugar daddy equation. So the It is not necessary that you have the first two. For those of you who were here last year, you'll have a little bit of a background. For those of you who are not, I'm going to have to review just a little bit more, and then I'm going to start talking about different parts of the plant. Okay, different parts of the plant include, you can read them up here, leaf bricks, root bricks, stem bricks, and fruit bricks. These are, if you decide to start testing other parts of the plant, what do they have? Are they consistent? Are they not consistent? How do they relate to one another? One plant versus another. Sometimes it's worth it to measure a fruit or a stem, sometimes it's not. And so I'm going to start going through and answering some of those questions now to make sure that we are all on the same page, and we'll be looking forward maybe at later dates in order to fill in even more gaps with the second, the fourth, and the fifth presentation on this particular subject. All righty, we're about to see if this is going to work, and it does. Jan, you're amazing. All right, battery's working too, so this is good because I'll probably be in good shape, but as we get near the end of the conference, the batteries will start to go, and then those presentations will suffer. But right now, I got the fresh batteries. I am now going to give you the chart. Some of you have seen this chart before, and some of you have not. What I want to do is focus on the top, leaf bricks. This chart has caused some confusion. People think, does it have to do with roots? No. Does it have to do with the stem? No. Does it have to do with the fruit? No. This is a chart that is the most consistent part of the plant. And so if you are trying to determine the health of the plant, and this is what Brix is all about, this is the chart that you will turn to. The reason why we analyze leaf bricks is because of the consistency. It is very, very consistent. It is where the sugar is made in the chloroplast, photosynthesis. It is where it is basically stored. Leaves store a significant amount of this sugar after it is formed, and then it can be distributed to different parts of the plant for various reasons, some of which you are aware of. So it's this leaf bricks chart that I have here that I'm going to start to fill in little by little as you follow along. You will notice across the top, I've got 1 to 20. That refers to essentially percentage, 1%, 2%, 20%. You will also notice that I stop at 20. Why? Couldn't we go to 100%? No, we cannot. Leaves almost never break 20. Can they break 20? Yes. Do they usually? No. Because once the sugar builds up to a certain point, it is spread throughout the plant, and so we pretty much stop at 20. But I do want you to be aware that there are some cases, sometimes when the plant gets a little unhealthy, where you can accidentally go above 20. And so because that condition exists, I just wanted to make sure that I had 20 plus so that you were all aware that everything does not stop. Now, because this is measuring bricks, this is a measure in no small part of sugar. Technically, it's more than that. It's TDS. It's total dissolved solids. The total dissolved solids in a plant is measured with the refractometer. However, most of those solids, the vast majority of those solids, are sugar. This is the reason why Brix is sometimes considered to be synonymous with sugar. And so if we start at 1 to 2%, you will see I have separated this into various regions. The first region, 1 to 2, these plants, force feeding is necessary. These plants will not survive and do not survive out in the wild for that long. If you do not force feed them, they will die, sometimes within a day, sometimes within a few days. A few of them might go a week, but they are essentially going to cease to exist in a very short period of time. What am I referring to? I'm referring to the greens on golf courses. I'm referring to many house plants. Many of these low Brix plants, if they're protected or force-fed, can survive for extended periods of time. Left to their own devices, they're as dead as a doornail. But if you are interested in taking care of them, and of course many golf courses are and others, then you can actually keep these 1 to 2 Brix plants alive long enough in order for the end result to occur, whether it be a rolling ball or simply because you like the plants that may be in your house, just to use those two as an example. The next is between 3 to 7. All of these plants have a fighting chance at surviving. They can usually take care of themselves pretty well too. Unfortunately, they're not at the top of their game. There's still low health going on with these 3 to 7 Brix plants. However, if you take a look at these plants, you will notice that they look okay. And you will also notice that they're growing. So it's not that they've completely stopped, but they look okay. And if you've never seen a healthy plant, these 3 to 7 Brix plants may actually look pretty good to all of you. We have ways of measuring these plants. Brix is one of them, but there are also other indications too that tell us that things are not going too particularly well. So these have a fighting chance at surviving. And obviously 7 Brix is better than 3 Brix, but it's within this region that a lot of plants are measured. Many of the crop plants that I measure are generally between 3 to 7. An interesting thing happens in this range. Plant secondary metabolites take off at 6. What are the plant secondary metabolites? The terpenes, flavonoids, glucosinolates, all of these secondary plant metabolites, and there are tens of thousands of them. Tens of thousands of them offer color, smell, taste, that flavor happens with the secondary plant metabolites. They're in very low levels, nowhere near. They will adjust the Brix ever so slightly, but they're found in such small amounts that it's irrelevant to consider them when it comes to Brix. However, when the sugar levels, when photosynthesis is increasing in a plant and it gets up to 6 Brix, this is when the plant's secondary metabolites start to take off. And you will notice a jump in health as well as some resistance too, because some of these secondary plant metabolites do a really good job at keeping insects from attacking the plant. But this is only in the beginning stages at 6. So what are you saying, Tom? Are you trying to tell us that something below 6 tastes like cardboard? Because that's what it's sounding like you're saying right now. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. If you have had fruit or vegetables and they taste like cardboard, I could tell you what the Brix level is going to be. This is not normal. This is not what a plant wants to do. But when you are at these low levels, there is poor color in the particular, let's say, vegetable. The flavor is not going to be good. And if you cut it open and take the 2 ends, close your eyes, and put it up to your nose, you can't smell anything if it's coming in at 3 Brix. There is no odor. You can do it to someone else too. Give it to your wife. Tell her to close her eyes, put the tomato underneath, no odor whatsoever. And that's what happens, for example, at 3, maybe 4 Brix. Okay. All right. From 8 to 12, plants now develop what I call a proverbial sword and shield. They are able to defend themselves, and they do a pretty good job of doing so. We have now moved up away from the 3 to 7 range, and we are now at 8 to 12. Once we reach this point, the plant is looking pretty darn good. Not there yet, but it's looking pretty good. And if you've ever noticed a plant go from that 3 to 7 range and move up to 8 to 12, you will see jumps in health. Everything seems to improve, including the color, among other things. At this point, water retention abilities increase drastically. For those of you who are limited in your water use, Southern California, in the United States, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, places where water is held back. I'm not as familiar with Canada, although I've been up here many times before, over a dozen times, and I know that there are certain regions where water is at a premium. Under these conditions, if you do not have a high Brix plant, you will be paying a lot of money, or you will be using too much water, and this is a necessary part of raising your plants when they are low Brix. Why is this occurring? Just because they're healthier? Well, that's part of it, but there's two things you should know. One, sugar is hygroscopic. Because sugar is hygroscopic, if it is found in higher amounts, it actually absorbs humidity. Therefore, it doesn't dry out as fast. Therefore, you don't need as much water. In addition to that, a lot of sugar from the plant is being put into the soil through the root exudates. When this sugar is put in there, it's still hygroscopic, and it's still going to be holding on to water. But another thing occurs. When the sugar levels go up, the microbial life goes up as well. And when the microbial life goes up, we now have a bunch of tiny cells that take a sip of water. Not much, certainly less than a drop, especially with some of these bacteria. But each one of them must take in water to survive. That is water retention. Not the water retention that you hear about from soil specialists when they talk about the sand, the silt, and the clay, and the water retention abilities of the soil. I could blow that away with microbes. If the microbes are in there, they're going to be holding much more water than the soil ever could. Does this mean the soil's not important? No. But you do need to put soil in its place and make sure that that is clearly at second place when it comes to microbes. This is why you can reduce your water usage 10%, 25%, sometimes 50% reduction in water as you move up from 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 Brix. Insect resistance begins in earnest. Why is that? Well, I just got finished telling you about the secondary plant metabolites. They start taking off. They start taking off at 6 Brix. That doesn't mean that they're high, but as they get higher to 7 Brix and 8 Brix and 9 Brix and continuing, the secondary plant metabolite concentration is going up. You are now getting active insect resistance from these plants right now in this 8 to 12 insect range. Brix range. So because of this, you can see what is happening to your plants and how, hopefully, you're seeing also that you can actually save money. In some cases, a considerable amount of money by simply increasing the Brix levels, and you don't, because raising low Brix plants is expensive at its very heart. And I'll be talking more about that tomorrow. And then we have plants between about 12 to 20. These are objectively healthy. I use the word objectively. This is not a subjective measurement. With any measurement that you take, whether it be Brix or whether it be a whole host of other parameters that you can test, every parameter will tell you that this plant is healthy when it's between 12 to 20. Granted, 14, 15, 16 Brix is more ideal, but you're going to be in very, very good shape at 12. Why? Because the plants are, of course, healthier and food is now produced. What do you mean? Food wasn't produced before? Well, not technically. I'm talking about the food that you eat that gives you a long life, not the snack food that keeps your stomach from grumbling for an hour or two. I'm talking about eating good food, nutritious food that keeps you alive through your 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into 100 years. That's the type of food that I am referring to. Because we are spending a lot of our time eating crappy food, we have difficulty. It's not just long life, but it's also a lot of acute illnesses, which are as a result of that, because we don't have the proper nutrition. And the proper nutrition is found in a high Brix plant. It is now fit for human consumption once we have reached that point. And better yet, no insects, no disease. How is this possible? How is this possible? Is he making this up right now? You should know that I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and a PhD in entomology. So when I talk about insects, I'm going to ask you to believe me at my word. And so if I'm telling you that insects are not attacking these plants, I am hoping that I have some authority behind what I'm saying. As far as the disease, that just happens to go along with it. Generally speaking, if you're at 12 Brix and above, you have no insects attacking. This is generally true. No disease. As far as the fungal diseases, I'm not seeing anything at 10 Brix and above. So if you have plants at 10 or 11 Brix and you're spraying fungicides, you are wasting your money because fungus never takes hold of a plant that is at 10 Brix or above. You're in pretty good shape at 9 Brix, and at 8 Brix, you're still at kind of like a thumbs up. By the time you get down to 5 or 6 Brix, everything is attacking your plant at that point. And that is where a lot of your money will be going. So I believe this completes the chart. If you haven't taken the picture of it already, I will show it later on. But I need you to understand how leaf Brix is determined. I'm talking about how it's done in another presentation in the afternoon about how to do Brix. But I need you to see this chart. This chart is dependable for you, for a tree and a shrub and a flower sitting on your dining room table. It applies to all plants on planet Earth. This is why this chart is up here. This chart does not apply if you start switching parts of the plant. And this has raised many questions, which has prompted me to come up with this third presentation. How is the sugar moved about the plant? How does it relate to this leaf Brix chart? This leaf Brix chart is relatively easy to understand. Things start to break down a little bit when we start moving to different parts of the plant. This was out long before I came into the picture. This is the Brix chart on the internet. There are several of these out there. These give you an idea of what Brix levels are good for apples. Poor, 6 Brix. Average, 10 Brix. A good apple, 14 Brix. And excellent is coming in at 18 Brix. This chart is around the internet. It's a good, reliable chart to follow. And because of this, I would recommend its usage. However, how many times have I been asked about this chart and how this does not apply to my chart? And what's the reason? Why is there such a disparity? Well, this chart is not about leaf Brix. That's the problem. They're not measuring leaves. They're measuring different parts of the plant, and sometimes we get different numbers based upon how that works. If you stick with the leaf, no matter what plant it is, you're going to be fine with the previous chart. Once you look at this right now, this is usually referring to different parts of the plant and causes confusion. So because of this, I usually refer to it as plant Brix in a general sense. Plant Brix is the measurement of the sugars in different parts of the plant. The leaf Brix, clearly that's going to be the most important and consistent measurement. The number of leaves that I use is going to be relatively high. I always try to go with 30 leaves when I'm testing it because I'm looking for statistical significance. For something like this, you don't need 30 leaves of a plant this size. This is ginger in order to get a good reading. You can actually do with half this size, maybe even a quarter, and still squeeze out what you need to do to find out. But the leaf Brix is, of course, about the leaves and only the leaves. Then, of course, we have root Brix. Root Brix is where you're going to find a different concentration of these sugars, and different plants are going to have different measurements. Does that mean that the leaves of the carrot do not apply to the chart? Oh, no, they do. So if you want to test your carrots as to how healthy they are, you can test the green part of the carrot. Once you get down into the roots, things start to break down a little bit. Stem Brix. We have some plants that store a massive amount of sugar in their stem. And so when you're dealing with sugar cane, this is going to break down a little bit if you're measuring how much sugar is in sugar cane. Of course, we got a lot of that in Florida. Does that mean you can't measure the leaves of the sugar cane? Of course you can. Will it give you a reliable measurement on how healthy the sugar cane is? You better believe it will. But once you start moving down, there's going to be some adjustments. Fruit Brix. If we measure the fruit, obviously that's going to be a little bit different than the leaf. And it should be in some cases because some of the fruits are very sweet. And so therefore the Brix levels are going to be altered from what you're going to find among a leaf. And finally, we've got the phloem Brix. The reason why I mention this right now is because plant sap analysis has really started to take off in the industry. When you are doing a plant sap analysis and you get that result and it's coming to you on a piece of paper, all laid out for you, one of the parameters will be sugar. Essentially, it's a Brix concentration. It's a Brix measurement. And this Brix measurement is different than the leaf Brix measurement because it is just looking at really the phloem tissue. It's a specialized part of the leaf that is actually being measured. So I will need to discuss these different types of Brix in a little bit more detail so that you have a more clear understanding of how this works and some of the relationships that exist between them. So to begin with, on this leaf Brix chart, down below, I've superimposed insect groups. This will give you an idea of what insects go after a plant based upon its health levels. The first group is the aphid group. The aphids include scale insects. The aphid group also includes phylloxerans, like the grape phylloxera. It also includes mealybugs. These are the lower level scum of the earth insects that have a role in eating unhealthy plants, but they will lose interest in a plant once it reaches 6 or 7 or 8 Brix. By the time you're at 8 Brix, there are no aphids or scale insects on your plant anymore. And so because of this, it is good to see what they're interested in. Aphids and their scum are going to be interested in plants essentially below 6. Okay. The next group, the sucking insects, a little bit more advanced. These sucking insects, of course, do include the aphids, but I'm separating out the leaf hoppers, the plant hoppers, the frog hoppers, the stink bugs, the lantern flies. Yes, that's actually a bug. So all of these sucking insects are in a different group. They're a little bit elevated because I've noticed that they will leave a plant once it reaches 7 Brix, 8 Brix, maybe 9 Brix. By the time you get to 9 Brix, there are no more sucking insects on your plant. The next group, the chewing insects. There are reasons for this. They have a much greater ability in order to take down a plant, an effectively different method of doing so. And these chewing insects include the Lepidoptera, the butterflies and the moths. Include the caterpillars munching on your leaves. They include Diabrotica, corn rootworm, and others that are feeding upon your roots. These include any type of chewing insect that is chewing the leaf, the stem, the roots, what have you. These insects lose interest in a plant when it reaches 9 Brix, or 10 Brix, or 11 Brix. That's about the point that this group starts losing interest in a plant. So that means the chewing insects are usually going to be found below 9 Brix. That is going to be their happy zone. Some of them can do just fine at 9 Brix, but others will be gone by 10 or 11. I have a 2 Brix range, and that's done on purpose. That's because there are 1 million species of insects that we know about, and not every single one of them is the same. This is why I'm giving you a range right now. And this is why when you go out into your field, you can judge the relative Brix levels by taking a look at the insects that are attacking it. The grasshopper group has always impressed me, and because of that, I am giving them their own group. The grasshoppers include the grasshoppers. They include the longhorn grasshoppers, sometimes known as katydids. They also include crickets. These insects are going after much higher Brix plants. Not much higher. They're still unhealthy because all insects are going after unhealthy plants. But the grasshopper group really needs a 10 Brix before they lose interest, or 11. And even at 12 Brix, I have noticed grasshoppers munching on a few trees. They don't last long. They stick around long enough to taste it. They will cause some damage, and then they will realize that this is not the plant for them, and they will move on. But they are still strong enough to take a bite out of a plant at 12 Brix. They're chewing insects, but they're a more advanced chewing insect group. Okay. So What are they going after? Let's take a look at leaf Brix right now. Leaf Brix. This is a picture of sodium leaf. I'm sorry, soybean. This is a soybean leaf. It's a trifoliate leaf. For those of you who have raised soybeans before, you're certainly very familiar with this. We have the soybean aphid attacking this particular leaf in plenitude. Oftentimes they're found on the underside, so therefore this is simply turned over in order to view the hundreds of soybean aphids that are attacking it. It's relatively common. If you have soybeans, the soybean aphid is sometimes the #1 pest in particular states of the union. In other cases, it's the second most popular pest on soybean, and in rare cases, it's third, depending upon which state of the union you are referring to. So these soybean aphids attack. They do a good job of attacking. They did not essentially exist until about 1999, but now that our plants have decreased in health to the point where the soybean aphid is now interested in it, it attacks in plenitude. And it is almost exclusively going after and was brought in by GMO soybean. This did not exist before GMO soybean came onto the picture. They were such a minor pest, you wouldn't find them in any extension fact sheets of any university. But once 1996 rolled around and the GMO soybean came in, the soybean aphid came in, and it is predominantly, but not exclusively, a problem on GMO soybean. Why? Why is that so? Most of the GMO soybean is between 3 to 5 Brix, almost exclusively. Does this mean if it reaches 6 or 7, the soybean aphid numbers go down? Yes. Does this mean they'll disappear at 8 Brix? They will. Does this mean that non-GMO soybean doesn't have aphids? Oh no. If the health goes down low enough, they will also attack the non-GMO soybean. They're relatively indiscriminate feeders, but they were looking for a plant that is unhealthy and cannot defend itself against the aphid. They are very, very comfortable between 3 to 5 Brix. These leaves right here, I mean, it's a major close-up right now, but the leaves are running about, let's just say 3/4 the length of a man's finger. These are about 3/4 the length of a man's finger. Over here is soybean, and it is not GMO soybean. This leaf is running about, give or take, 3/4 the length of a man's hand. It looks pretty good, especially compared to the one on the left, due to the size, the color of this, and this particular leaf coming in at 12 Brix. Not as high as I would like it. I'd prefer something at 14, but once you move up the ladder of health, you start to realize that there are large differences among leaves' size when you play this game. And so if you've never seen a leaf this big before, I would challenge you in order to start seeing if you could find a leaf that is this big. And of course, this may involve changing things around because I'm talking about the health of the plant. And of course, I'm also trying to save you money by giving you healthier plants. So this is what is possible specifically in regards to soybean, but it applies to all crops at all times. This is what I was able to do with green lightning, is that when you health up a plant, you can increase the size of the leaf. It's very commonly, it kind of goes along with it. So this is a southern magnolia. To the left, almost every single leaf on the tree was the one off to the left. Soon after I put on green lightning, I was able to health up the plant just temporarily. The size of the leaves that came out within 2 weeks after the application process are about 4 times larger than the leaf that I have right here, but it's not just the size of the leaf. Take a look at the color, or more particularly, the shine. The one on the right is shinier than the one on the left. It has a more advanced wax layer. This is also an indication of health. So when you're taking a look at Brix readings, you will notice there are certain things that go along with higher Brix. Larger leaves is one of them. A shinier leaf is one of them too. The wax layer is more developed on these leaves, and it is apparent on this particular photo, where there's still a little bit of shine on the one on the left, but the right one outshines the one on the left. Let's take a look at root bricks right now. Root bricks is a different animal altogether. Root bricks is very difficult to measure. It's not too difficult with carrots because we're usually pulling them out and you can actually squeeze them and get some measurements from the root. But when you're dealing with this root brick situation, there are adjustments that do need to be made. And I talked about consistency. With the leaf bricks, we have consistency. With the root bricks, we do not have consistency with that. Let's take a look at the fall. During the fall, what happens? Well, the fall, the trees, the deciduous trees, they go to sleep. When they do that, they completely remove all the chlorophyll and the sugars and a lot of the secondary plant metabolites. In essence, a lot of the nutrition from the plant is pulled out of the leaves, which causes them to lose their green color. And then the carotenoids come out, which are the reds, the yellows, and the oranges that we often associate with the fall. And where does all that stuff go? It goes down into the roots. So when you're measuring the roots of deciduous trees, it is like night and day, because during the fall, the root Brix levels increase drastically. This is why they have no difficulty whatsoever coming right back again in March, April, or even May, depending upon the tree, because all of the nutrients are in the roots. The storage of this occurs throughout the winter. Because of this, this makes it difficult, because you don't find high Brix among the roots of these trees, or as high as it could be, as you do during the fall when they dump everything down there. This is part of the reason why I don't usually suggest testing root Brix, usually, but there are exceptions to be made. And one of these exceptions occurred just a few years back. It wasn't too terribly long ago. We were down in Florida. I'm from Florida, so right now I'm the coldest person in this room. And we're taking a look at citrus. And we were taking some measurements, and almost all the measurements are between 4 to 7 Brix, too low, which is part of the reason why the Asian citrus psyllid is decimating the crop. And we were getting some measurements from the leaves that were causing some confusion, because some of them did not look that bad. I was looking for a leaf Brix. 4 to 7 was most, but we're hoping to see if we can get 5 to 9. And in measuring, I was actually getting 1.1. 2.0, 1.2, and 1.5. I did not believe what I was doing, and I had doubts. So I hit it 4 more times with different trees. We hit 1.2, 2.0, 2.3, and 2.4. I said, all right, this is a very real phenomenon right now. What is going on? So we were scratching our heads. We were looking at the plant, and we weren't paying attention to what was going on. And one of us, it wasn't me, pointed to the sky and says, take a look. And up in the sky, we had blue sky, and we had a dark sky, and there was a strong delineation between them. This is not the picture. This is just something I pulled. And we said, wow, this is impressive. We got a major storm coming. What do we do? And at that time, I had heard, but hadn't really studied root Brix before in relation to a storm. Now, during the fall, a lot of that stuff is put down into the roots in order to get through the winter. When a storm comes in, especially the hurricanes that we have in Florida, they also have the opportunity to take a lot of that nutrition and push it down into the roots. And so I was getting almost nothing, between 1 to 2 Brix on plants that actually looked pretty good. I knew that they should be between 4 to 7 at a very minimum. And so we saw how fast it was coming in, kind of smiled at one another, and we're like, all right, this is the opportunity right now. Do we move on this? And I remember asking someone, I said, how much time do we have? And he's like, 25 minutes. And I was like, can we get this done in 25 minutes? And so he said, yes, we can. Went to the truck, got a shovel, started digging, started pulling up as many roots as we can. And we started to attack, put them into a nice bundle, and then we were going to squeeze them. We were expecting something, obviously, it's not going to be averaging 1.7, which is where we were, but it was looking for root Brix of 5 to 8, and it came in at 14. Came in at 14. Roots aren't usually this high, but this type of variability I'm teaching you is that this is not the most reliable thing to do. Because I've been through it before, it was a teaching moment. It tells me what I've learned from some of those who went before me. And that is, when a storm comes in, the sugar will go down into the roots. Just in case it gets clipped off at the ground, make sure that it can grow back. This is the reason why I don't spend a lot of time looking at root Brix, but I'm teaching you right now that this variability does exist and can occur in 1 hour. Because plants can take that sugar and throw it down to the root in about 1 hour in preparation because of the front that's coming in, which is usually associated with a low front or a low pressure front. The root Brix in carrots is going to be, as I mentioned, a little bit different than the leaf Brix for even the same leaf on the same carrot. So a poor carrot would be 4 Brix, 6 Brix average, 12 Brix would be a good carrot, and the carrots, as you can see, get very high. 18 Brix and above is what you can get for a good, healthy carrot. Usually, the carrots can sometimes even break 20, and they will often be higher than the leaf Brix. If you get a really good, it's going to be a vibrant, very orange-looking carrot. It's going to impress you with its color. It will also impress you with its taste. And in these particular cases, the root Brix will actually be higher than the leaf Brix of the same carrot. This is the storage center for the carrot. And as you can see, and as you know, that's where a lot of the nutrition is, and that's why we eat that part of the carrot. So you should be aware that the root Brix varies. When the root is first developing, it's not that high, but as it becomes well developed, the carrots now can actually exceed the leaf Brix of that same carrot. Potatoes. Well, these are also roots, aren't they? Indeed, they are. Tubers, but essentially roots. And obviously, there's a lot of storage, just as there is in the carrots. Does this mean they are also going to be 18 Brix? No, not even going to be close. The potatoes are going to be running at 3 to 8. Sweet potatoes, different, higher. They've earned their name. They're sweet potatoes. So because of that, we've got a difference between potatoes and sweet potatoes. But allow me to focus just on the potatoes first. Why is an excellent potato 8? How is that possible after I just got finished telling you that the Brix levels can and should be much higher? And yet 8 Brix is considered to be impressive for a potato tuber? I don't understand. Let me explain it to you. The sugar processing in potatoes. Photosynthesis is the same in potatoes as it is in any other plant. It doesn't differ. Photosynthesis produces glucose. That is a monosaccharide. The monosaccharides are often made into disaccharides. That's when 2 sugars come together, form a disaccharide. We also have trisaccharides that will be going around the plant. That's 3 sugars. By the time we get to polysaccharides, that means we have 4 or more sugars. And by the time we get to starch, it's practically an unlimited number of sugar molecules all connected into what you and I call starch. Starch is not registered on the refractometer. That's why this is lower. The sugar, which is in plenitude, is converted over to starch. And therefore, you're going to have residual amounts of sugar. The best you're usually going to get is about 8 Brix, because that sugar is being converted into starch. That's why. And of course, you have more residual sugars with the sweet potatoes, which is why you have to be at 14 in order for the sweet potatoes to be considered in excellent condition. And of course, we're actually measuring the potato right now. We're not measuring the leaf. If you want to measure the leaves of potatoes, you go right back to that chart that I talked about before. But now we're dealing with a slightly different situation. Can you measure the potatoes? Of course you can, but you must understand some of the parameters, the highs and the lows, and what this varies between in order to educate yourselves about your particular crop. And let's say it happens to be potatoes. So that's what's going on in regards to root Brix. So you can see some of the difference that exists between carrots and potatoes, and also even citrus, which doesn't do a lot of storage of that type of stuff. But because of this variability, it becomes not as dependable. But I need to educate you so that if you decide to go down that route, and there are always some farmers who are looking to be a little bit more involved in their crop, trying to understand it as to what constitutes a healthy plant. So now let's move to stem Brix. Stem Brix is a different beast altogether. It's a little bit easier to measure than root Brix because you pretty much need a shovel in order to get down and to start picking apart the roots. Plus, they're also a little more difficult to pull out. Whether or not you have compacted soil or not, they're just a little bit more difficult to deal with. But the stem Brix, well, they're a little bit easier to get to. So here, stem Brix, this is the chart that I told you about before. Notice asparagus. Asparagus. I enjoy asparagus. It's a very, in my opinion, it's pretty tasty. A lot of people don't like it. I get it. But with a little bit of butter, I find it to be an absolutely delectable treat. Asparagus is low Brix, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Why? Asparagus is a stem. That's what we eat. We predominantly eat the stem. Do we eat other parts of it? Yes. Sometimes it is you can get a little bit of beyond the stem, but essentially it's the stem that we are eating. And I'm telling you right now that the stem is not very sweet. If you've had asparagus before and you don't like it, that's part of the reason, is because there's not a sweet flavor associated with asparagus. And this asparagus is part of the reason why I don't regularly test stem Brix. And if you do test stem Brix among asparagus or other plants, understand that the context of it is going to change based upon the leaf Brix. In addition to that, as I've alluded to before, we also have sugarcane, where a lot of sugar is stored in the stem. That is also going to start to break down. So here we have sugarcane right now. On the top, no surprise here, if you want to test leaf Brix, you can. The leaves are up there. You wouldn't need necessarily 30 in order to get the necessary liquid in order to test it, but this is easily measurable if you have sugarcane. Of course, we have this in Florida. Down at the bottom, closer to the ground, we have the stem. There are no leafing structures there, and this is where a lot of the sugar is stored in sugarcane. What is the difference? Is there a relationship? Actually, there is. So if I'm measuring leaf Brix coming in at 7 to 10 Brix, this looks somewhat reasonable based upon the chart that I just told you about. You're going to be either the second or possibly the third region. And as you know, sugarcane is sweet. We raise it in order to get sugar. And we have sugar available. I'm not talking about the high fructose corn syrup. I'm talking about sugarcane sugar. And so because this is easily obtainable, you might expect it to be a little bit sweeter, but based upon certain parameters, it may not be as healthy as it can be. And we're coming in at 7 to 10 Brix. No matter, because the stem Brix will be running 15 to 18. 15 to 18 for sugarcane, much higher than the leaf. Because of this disparity, you can see that there are these relationships that occur from one plant to another. And so you are always going to have massive amounts of sugar storage in sugarcane. And so it is relatively easy to reach 15 Brix on sugarcane. But what if? What if the leaf Brix was coming in at 15 to 18 Brix? What then? If the leaf Brix was really that healthy, would you be getting similar readings on the stem Brix? No, you would not. In that particular location now, you are going to be getting between 22 to 30 Brix. This is a massive amount of sugar, and just go ahead and tear off the sugar cane. And many people and many kids, they love to just suck on the sugar cane, especially when you're dealing with a very high Brix. I mean, this is almost as high as some candies when you're at 22 to 30. The leaf Brix will not be as high. And so therefore we have a disparity in the same plant between the leaf Brix and between the stem Brix. So the leaf Brix fits very comfortably. A good healthy sugar cane, 15 to 18 Brix. No insects attacking it. No need for fungicides. The stem Brix is going to be skyrocket high, completely off the leaf Brix chart, which stops at about 20. But in this particular case, this is how the stem works in sugarcane. So I'm teaching you about the different types of plants too. I understand you may not be doing a whole lot of sugarcane, but it's good to know, it's good to have a background, especially should any of you decide to relocate in Florida, by the way. Much warmer temperatures in Florida. No joke. With the exception of the last week, where we hit 9 inches of snow and we got down to 23, and all of the papers were telling us how many parts of Alaska were warmer and had less snow than we had in Florida. But for the most part, we're usually warmer. Fruit Brix, and this of course is its own beast as well. It's not just about the oranges, but there are lots of other fruits that are out there. They are also going to differ. No problem with the leaves, measure those all the time. But once you're measuring the fruit, and we often do in certain industries, such as grapes and oranges, where that's how it works. You get paid on Brix. You get low Brix, you get less money. You get higher Brix, you get more. So that's how the grape industry and the orange industry works, but it also applies to others as well. So if we take a look at the fruit Brix, you will notice off to the left, they've got fruits up there. And so we've got a number of fruits that are listed, and you can see that some of these fruits are going to be a little bit higher than the 20 Brix. It's not impossible. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's very possible that some fruits will actually break 20 Brix. So let's focus in on this one right here, sweet corn. Sweet corn is included among the vegetables. Dudes, dudettes, that's a fruit, okay? Sweet corn is a fruit. So it is a much higher Brix level. We can hit 24 Brix on sweet corn. And so because it's a fruit, it's actually in the wrong category. But it is very high too, and that's because fruits, generally speaking, have a higher Brix reading. We also have green beans. Yep, green beans, essentially anything with the seed, is a fruit. Green beans are indeed a fruit. They're not a vegetable. Green beans are much, much lower, 4, 6, 8, 10 Brix for really good. You also know, just like the asparagus, that green beans don't taste that sweet to anybody, me or you. However, you can still get a healthy green bean coming in at 10 Brix because that's just not the location where a lot of sugar goes into. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. However, if you have a green bean plant, you can still test the leaves. And the leaves will give you the answer as to whether or not the plant is healthy or not. You don't need to necessarily test the actual part of the plant that you actually make money on. You can actually test the leaf and get an idea where your green beans are. So this chart, like I said, I'm pointing out some of the problems because I need you, when you see this chart on the internet, it is all over the internet, that you need to be able to read it correctly and understand what is going on when you see all of these numbers that are being thrown at you. So let's just focus on the fruits right now on the left part. I just zoomed in real quick. And as you could see, as I pointed out right now, it is not impossible to break 20 Brix. So we've got a number of fruits like pineapple and papayas, which they're not excellent until they hit 22. And don't get me wrong, they can go above 22. They can go much higher than 22. So these fruit Brix are on a different scale when you see them. So the fruit Brix can include oranges, for example. I'm from Florida. Why won't I discuss citrus? And so I will. The oranges themselves, not the leaves, A bad orange will be 6 Brix. By the time you get to 20 Brix, you are in excellent shape. 20 Brix for an orange. The leaves will not be that high. They will be a little bit lower, but you can reach 20 Brix for an orange. The leaves right next to it will slowly be dropping as the sugar comes in, but this is how it works. And I'm trying to give you as much background as possible for you to understand that, because there is going to be a difference between the leaf Brix and the fruit Brix when you're dealing with a fruit that is generally considered to be sweet. Apples, oranges, cherries, strawberries. Okay? All of these fruits and more can routinely break 20 Brix if you're just testing the fruit. And there are many growers who do test the fruit. Okay. So the leaf Brix of an orange tree, obviously that's the green stuff that's on the tree. The fruit Brix on an orange tree, obviously that's the orange part of the tree. What kind of relationship is there or should there be? Well, the first relationship I've already alluded to, and that is you should have higher Brix readings on the fruit. That's the first thing you should know. If you don't, your plant is not healthy. Your tree is not healthy. But can we get some numbers? Yeah, I can give those to you. I'm looking for a jump of 3 to 10 Brix. That's what I'm looking for. If I'm measuring leaf Brix on an orange tree and I cannot get 3 Brix higher on the orange itself, then things are not working the way that they should. So one, you're either dealing with an unhealthy tree, and we have a whole bunch of those unhealthy trees in Florida, or it's just not finished yet. So if the fruit hasn't ripened, it will not be at the highest Brix level. You can actually measure the Brix going up. When it maximizes at whatever Brix you're looking for, then you know it's done. And at that point, we harvest or we pick, whether it be oranges, grapes, or otherwise. So you can follow the Brix in the fruit, realizing it's going to pass the leaf, and then determine at what point you're going to. I'm sorry, sir, do you have a question right now? 5 minutes. Fantastic. Thank you. I thought you were just raising your hand, at which point I was just going to ignore you for the next few minutes and see if I can get away with that. All right. The highest tested, 15.9. I have gotten 15.9 on leaf Brix citrus in Florida. I've never gotten anything higher. Fruit Brix, 21.7. That's the highest. Does that mean it can't go above 21.7? No. That just happens to be the highest in Florida. And so you can see right there, this is not on the same tree, by the way. You can see right there the difference is big. I've already got a difference of 5 Brix between the highest leaf and the highest fruit that I've ever tested. This also applies to apples and the cherries and so on and so forth. Fruit Brix for avocado. You know where I'm going with this. Avocado's not sweet. Because it's not sweet, it's not going to be as high Brix as the leaves. This is the way avocados work. They are also running in that 4 to 10 range. Why? Because the avocado, the part that we like, that beautiful, wonderful guacamole, Mexicans love, I love it too, is based upon fats. The avocado fruit is tasty because of the fats, not because it is sweet. So again, even though fruit Brix may be generally higher, it's not going to be so in the avocado. In the avocado, I would be looking for 14 Brix and above, but the fruit is just not going to get that high. Grapes, different story. Obviously, they are also going to be rather sweet. Grapes can be running 8, 12, 16, get all the way up to 20 Brix for a healthy grape. The leaves are going to be a little bit less, sometimes a lot less, but sometimes a little bit less. When we have a fruit that is considered unhealthy, it is attacked. And here we have Anastropha ludens, which is the Mexican fruit fly, with its ovipositor extended, laying eggs inside fruit. It has tasted and smelled the fruit and deemed it worthy of egg laying, which means it's not worthy for you and I to eat because the Brix levels are going to be lower than they should be. That's why the insects are attacking it. They don't go after 14, 15, 16 Brix plants, nor do they go after 14, 15, 16 Brix fruit. Same situation over here. This one is Ragoletus, which is a different genus, but they're still tephridids. They're still fruit flies. This one is the western cherry fruit fly, and you can see it attacking a cherry. You will notice that this is an unhealthy cherry. How do I know that? Well, one, I've just kind of told you already, if the insect is attacking it, that's a sign that it's unhealthy. That's the first indication. The second indication that this is unhealthy is the white ring. Do you see it? I don't see it either. There's no white ring. Western cherry fruit fly should have a white ring. That white ring is where the minerals are deposited. And when the minerals are deposited in this white ring, it is becoming now resistant to attack. And so this white ring is essentially visible more or less from the cherries, which are now cut in half. Those are going to be higher Brix cherries. Grapes, same situation. We have a very light white ring, barely visible on these. That white ring is where the calcium, predominantly the calcium, but also some of the other minerals are deposited. That's why when you bite into a healthy grape, it should be hard and should squirt sometimes when you eat it. This can get thicker. This white ring can get thicker. This is a very thin one right here. These are a little bit thicker. And in this particular case, we have almost no white ring at all. This white ring is barely visible. These are table grapes, therefore a much lower quality grape. And we can barely make out some of you in the front might see, looks like a pencil line white ring that is barely going around it. These are low Brix grapes. So there are other indicators to take a look at this process. It's just a little bit of, here is something, these are table grapes that I was eating. This white ring is very pronounced. These were running about 19 to 20 Brix. And these are table grapes. Table grapes don't usually get this high. I was actually eating them thinking, wow, these are really good. What's the scoop here? So I got a knife, cut it in half, and you can see this white ring is quite pronounced. Can it get larger? Oh yeah, this white ring can get to be so big it will actually go practically all the way to the seed. 24 Brix, that's what the wine industry wants. And when you get those, the white ring is very pronounced. Raisins, a little bit less. They like 22 Brix and above for their grapes. That's when they pick them. Table grapes are usually running 15 to 18 Brix. So the table grapes that you have, they never taste quite as good as you would like. That's because the good grapes are not being used for table grapes. They're being used for wine, and they're being used for raisins. And then we have at the bottom, 12 Brix and below, they make grape jam from this. This is the crappy stuff that doesn't taste that good. And now you know why they put high fructose corn syrup in the jam. Now you know why you will sometimes find 2 or 3 other additional addendums added to the jelly. Is because it's so low Brix, they have to add the sugar in order to make it work. And then finally, the last thing here, I realize I'm getting close. We have the phloem Brix. The phloem Brix is going to be different than the leaf Brix. It should. Why? Because a part is never as much as the whole. When I am squashing a leaf, the entire leaf, I'm trying to get a reading from the entire leaf. But when you do a plant sap analysis, you are going to get just the sugar that's found in the phloem and xylem tissue. Because it's part of a leaf, it's always going to be lower. And therefore, this is not a dependable Brix reading when you're getting it. The phloem Brix is tightly regulated. It's much like our blood is tightly regulated. You don't have wide variations in sugar in the phloem tissue. But you can in the leaves. You can go from 1 to 20. But here, you're usually looking at something between 2 to 3. That's relatively normal. Almost all leaves have about a 2 to 3 Brix when you do a plant sap analysis. So when you see those very low Brix readings on plant sap analyses, this is why, because it's not the entire leaf. Values below 1 Brix usually denote an unhealthy plant, but, and this is important, higher Brix readings also mean an unhealthy plant. Because when you've got a 4 to 11 Brix reading, that means something is messed up. And I could always find what it is. And it's always that a mineral is at starvation point. Practically at 0.00 parts per million for some of them. So that pretty much concludes what I wanted to talk about in regards to the different parts of the plant. My goal was to educate you as far as I could in regards to this so that you're able to handle questions that may come at you, especially if you're doing Brix readings. Later on today, I'm going to be demonstrating using some equipment so that you can see how this process goes, that you can get a close-up and understand how this works. Because once you have this tool in your toolbox, you don't have to spend money again. And it's so cheap. If you want to continue to send your stuff out to pay $85 a pop in order to get your soil tested or a plant Brix, plant sap analysis, you continue to do so, but there are less expensive ways to do it, and that's what we'll be teaching you today. And then tomorrow, I'll be talking a little bit more about the money aspect and the problems of raising low Brix plants. So thank you so much for paying attention. I'm not sure if there are any questions left over because I see Harvey moving on me right now. But if that's the end of it right now, again, thank you for paying attention.
Microphone, if there's another microphone there, for your question. That'd be great.
Questions?
Yep, I have a question. Some of my customers have wireworm, click beetle. Also, that would be the Brix level problem in wheat.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah. The wireworms are going after plants that are going to be below 9 Brix. So they need to test the plant. We need to find out, one, what's our starting point? Because it makes a big difference. If it's coming in at 2.3 Brix, we're in a lot of trouble. But if we're coming in at 8.3 Brix, then there may not be as much work that needs to be done in order to play it. So there are various factors that go into the Brix levels. We have been creating a lot of the problems ourselves. There are, in addition to that, ways in order to raise the Brix as well. That is actually my 4th presentation, raising Brix and lowering Brix. So because of that, I'm not going to have time to go into all the details right now, but yes, if the wireworms are attacking, we have a lower Brix plant. And so because of this, something needs to be done, or you're going to start to lose some of those plants.
So the other thing would be is this is within the first, let's say 2 weeks of that wheat coming out.
Yep.
Is that still soil deficiencies or would that be the seed deficiency?
Have you heard my presentations before?
Well, I did, but I'm
Yeah,
just,
that's what it's
so I have a customer that's asking. That's why I'm thinking that's.
Yeah, I was just talking about that last week at the conference. So yes, and that was part of the 4th presentation. In short, it's the seed. Okay, when you have a plant that's coming up and the first 2 cotyledonous leaves come up, at that point, the Brix level is totally and utterly dependent upon the seed. Once the next 2 leaves come up, which are going to be perpendicular to the first 2 leaves, at that point, you now know you've got roots. And they are now starting to pull nutrition from the soil. If you do a Brix reading at that point, the Brix leaving is going to jump up because it's now starting to photosynthesize. But you can still measure the cotyledonous leaves. They're going to be low, but you can still measure them. They may be coming in at less than 1 Brix. But this will give you an idea of how healthy the seed is, because seed is the first problem with Brix. When we are dealing with crappy seeds, there is not much that we can do. There are some things we can do, but there's not much we can do. And if they are attacking, so if we have cutworms that are attacking the plant immediately when it comes up, that's because you have bad seed. That does not have to deal with the whole photosynthesis thing. Once the leaves start coming up, at that point, it becomes more applicable. But yes, you are absolutely, positively talking about a seed problem right now.
So now that you brought up cutworms, so would that be a condition? Let's often hear we'll say, oh, well, there was too much straw in the field and the cutworms had a place to stay for the winter. Is that still not the case? It's the way it's crop management.
That would what I would call bull crud. So
Okay.
yes, this is a family show. So Because of that, yes, the straw, even though it may harbor them, even though they could even serve as a food source, they will not attack a plant if the Brix is high enough. So straw, I don't care how much straw is there in the field. If the plant is protected, it will not be attacked even if they are there. There are many insects that will sit there on a plant and will not eat it, and then they will die if the Brix is high enough. I have witnessed this multiple times. They will not eat a plant. They will sit there at the bottom. Sometimes they'll climb up the plant. I've seen them hanging from leaves that they were just eating last week that they're not eating right now. And so because of this, starvation will occur because they simply cannot just digest a healthy plant. And that's the reason why. So good questions that you're bringing up. We should do the fourth presentation, Harvey, right now.
Actually, you kind of partially answered my question, but what's the mechanism why plants can't eat, as insects can't eat unhealthy plants? Because in general, we want to eat high Brix plants because it's more nutritious.
Yes.
So why wouldn't the insect want that?
The insect would not want it because it cannot digest.
Can it digest sugar?
No, it can digest sugar. It can digest high amounts of sugar too. Sugar is infinitely digestible, but it cannot digest healthy proteins, well-formed proteins. If you want me to get technical, I will. All the proteins need to be completely formed. If you have a 450 amino acid protein, all 450 amino acids need to be there. We need to make sure that methionine is first. If it's not, the protein is not going to be formed correctly because they all begin with methionine, which has to do with sulfur. When it contorts and twists, you're going to need the cysteine bridges. The cysteine bridges mean cysteine residues need to be exactly at the location that it needs to, and then they form these bridges so that when the protein curls and forms its structure, it will be exactly the structure that it needs to be. These well-formed proteins are indigestible to insects,
Okay.
and they're only found in higher Brix plants. When you have a lower Brix plants, these proteins are not formed properly. And because of that, they are degraded, they are fragmented, and they are infinitely digestible. So when we find a 2 Brix plant, that whole plant is digestible, whereas a 14 Brix plant is not, and they will just sit there and not touch it. So thank you for asking the question. No, insects can handle sugar, and they can handle high amounts of it. Honey, nectar. Insects love nectar, and the Brix level is going to be 30 Brix and above. Honey Brix is going to be running 70 Brix and above. They'll also take a stab at molasses too, 70 Brix and above. So it's not the sugar itself. It is that they cannot digest it. And that was covered more completely in the first presentation, which you did not see. But also a good question. We covered the first and the fourth. Anyone want to take a stab at the second one or the fifth one? Cindy? Oh, you're getting the fifth one.
Yeah, it's a good explanation.
That's coming in a few
I never
days.
understood this before because I've heard different explanations, but none relating to the proteins.
What is non-related to the?
Well, I just said other explanations I heard before.
Oh, you've never heard this explanation before?
No, I wanted to understand why the
You want
insects
to
don't.
understand. In that case, I would have to sit down with you and spend a significant
okay.
amount of time. The digestive enzymes, the biochemistry of digestion, they are unable to break it down. Okay, we do have 15 minutes, so I'm going to give him some more time right now.
But that's okay. I mean, that was enough.
Cellulose.
I think that was enough explanation. But
No. You
but
wanted to go further. You're going to go further right now.
I have another question though.
Cellulose. Cellulose is composed of repeating glucose units, but it cannot be digested by humans. We don't go up to wood and start gnawing on trees. The reason why is because the sugars usually come together and form that bond. With cellulose, they do this. They're twisted, and then they come together. That alpha 1 to 4 glycosidic linkage, which is exactly what you're thinking of right now, that is the bond that we cannot break. So therefore, some things we cannot digest. The same thing goes for the insects. They have particular enzymes that cannot digest. And because they cannot digest it, they don't eat those plants. Those are high Brix plants. What they can digest are the low Brix plants, and that's why they go after them. So if you understand the biochemistry of digestion, if you understand the alpha, beta 1 to 4 glycosidic linkages in cellulose, and you apply that to every single molecule that is in a plant, you start to understand how biochemically the insects cannot digest the healthy proteins. They don't have the enzymes for it, and therefore they can't do it. They rely upon them to be broken down in order to be digested. How is that? I know you got another question, so I kept it short.
I got another question. That's why are GMO crops at low Brix?
Yes, that was talked about in the fourth presentation. This is why I keep coming up with presentations, because of these questions. The GMO crops, yeah, okay. Okay. I'd be happy to talk to you at greater depth or less. Okay. The GMO? Yeah, okay. Well, right now I know people need a 5-minute break. I know they need to pee, so I should probably let you go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step down and I'm going to answer the GMO. For those of you who need to go, I'll even turn this off so that we're no longer recording, okay? GMO crops are unhealthy in many different ways. They have modified genetics. Things are not working the way that they should. The proteins are not as well formed as they should. Because of this, the GMO crops are relatively unhealthy. We measure them at very low Brix. As I said, the GMO soybeans have